This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
A burst pipe at 3 a.m. is a bad way to start the day. A cold shower in November isn't invigorating. So before you start freaking, call Beacon. Beacon Plumbing, Heating, and Mechanical is just one call away 24 hours a day. 1-800-FREAKIN or beaconplumbing.net.
Hey, this is BJ. Thanks for listening to our show's podcast. If you're a fan of all things geeky, you should check out my other podcast, BJ Shea's Geek Nation. We have new episodes every day, and you can check it out at bjgeeknation.com.
Your driver's license is important so you can get back and forth to work, get your kids to school, and back and forth to daycare. If your license has been suspended because you can't pay your tickets, you can't do any of those things. Let's talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You may have heard the tickets cannot be discharged, but they can be dealt with in a Chapter 13 case. Why not come in for a free consultation? The chapter you choose will make all the difference to your getting back legally on the road. Let's design a plan to pay off your tickets and restore your license immediately. I'm attorney Travis Gagne. Please contact me today at choosetherightchapter.com. That's choosetherightchapter.com.
99.9 KISW, the Rock of Seattle. Great weekend for Tom Holland. I guess Uncharted made some pretty damn good money, and Mark Wahlberg is in that too, and they're talking about that could be a nice franchise for both those dudes. Uncharted, based on the video game, and it's a big adventure movie. Yeah. You probably saw all the trailers. I haven't seen it yet, but boy, people who've seen it have liked it, and it made some good money over this holiday weekend. So Tom Holland, man, he's not just Spider-Man. Now he's
Uncharted Man.
Uncharted Man.
Uncharted Man
does whatever Uncharted Man does. He did Tom Holland just shared a funny story about how his mom called Marvel when he filmed Spider-Man Homecoming to make sure that he was getting enough bathroom breaks. I mean, I guess he was a young kid when the first time he did Civil War, I guess.
How do you live that down if your mommy's calling the office?
So true. This but he's explaining why she did it.
On the first movie, I remember we were shooting this sequence on the Washington Monument, and I was in the suit for days at a time, sort of 11 hours, and I was young, so I wanted to impress the studio. I didn't want them to think that I needed breaks, and I remember calling my mum up on our daily phone calls. I was like, Mom, I'm really struggling, I'm working every day, and because I wear the suit, I can't go to the bathroom. And then 2 days later, the producer came up to me and was like, how are your kidneys?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I was like,
yeah.
My kidneys are fine. Why are you asking? He's like, well, your mom called us.
No. She's very concerned about your organs on this shoot.
Yeah, so my mom called up the biggest studio in the world and was like, give my son toilet breaks.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to think of a time where your mom or your dad just completely embarrassed you, or just an embarrassing situation that then your mom. Cause I think about the time where I had number 2 in my pants when I was in second grade.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget that experience. Don't use this for the roast, please. But
that's in there.
And I remember just sitting there in class and just thinking, hopefully no one notices. Hopefully no one. Of course, the teacher walks by and just has that, and she looks at me, and you could just, you can only have a poker face for so long when you are sitting there in your own.
You're stewing.
And she's just like, Steven, you should go to the bathroom. I was like, okay. And then she had them call my mom to come get me because I refused to leave the bathroom. I was not coming out of that bathroom. I was embarrassed. I was just like, I don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, I hear knock, knock, Steven, it's your mother. I'm like, hi, Mom. She's like, do you want to go home? Yes.
I don't want to be here.
Oh, so embarrassed, man.
Yeah, that's a beating.
Yeah.
How old were you? 20?
37.
37.
Here at work, yeah. She was visiting.
That's very embarrassing.
And Sergeant Hair Club was like, send him home.
Yeah, really. Yeah. That's a tough one, man. But I love that, moms do, and it's the universal. When mom calls, I don't care how big the studio is, they've got to be like, oh, okay, the kid's mom's called. We better probably make sure he's going to the bathroom. I do love that. I love that the mom can cut through.
Oh, yeah.
I think my mom embarrassed me a couple of years ago the most when we were at a store and I was looking for flip-flops to go to California and go to the beach and hang with Lily. And I was like, Mom, I need some new flip-flops. And she's like, what are those? And I showed her like sandals. So we go to the mall and she's yelling across because she didn't call them flip-flops. She called them thongs.
Oh, nice.
So,
I love that.
Daddy, I found your thongs. They're over here. What size do you need? And I'm like, Mom, they're not called thongs. They're called flip-flops. What? Thongs? They're right here.
Yeah.
Like,
But we call them thongs as well.
Yeah.
That's why you should just get sliders. Like the ones that don't have the thong in them.
Fair.
Yeah, that's I've got your sliders. Then, worst case, they think that you got burgers waiting with Mom.
It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing in the shoe department with burgers? Okay, well, actually, I kind of like this idea.
Danny, I got your sliders.
It'd be better.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's fantastic. Vicky, any chance at all? They had to have. Come on.
There wasn't many because I wasn't that kid to be embarrassed of being seen with my parents. But there was one thing my mom would do, and one thing we both share is a love of popping pimples. And when I was a teenager, like she would do them when we were at home, but every now and then we'd be at the store, you get the good lighting, and she was like, oh, wait, hold on a sec, let me get at you. And I would get so pissed off. I'm like, not in public. That was the only thing I had a problem with, and she didn't understand why I was so upset. She's like, but the lighting's great in here. Like, but people I know might be walking by, watching you try to pop something on my face.
Pimple popping mama.
Yeah, so if you wonder why I have an affinity or a fascination with pimple popping, blame my mother.
Yeah, whenever the parents mother you or father, in a big place like that, you're like, no, come on.
Not at Target.
As an adult, it's the whole. I mean, my dad basically was the ultimate. Don't you know who he is?
Oh, that's always a tough one.
Yeah, with him walking around. I shared it before, but I mean, it was whether or not he had my business cards on hand or not. It didn't matter where we were going. He out of pride, so I can't get too mad at him. Yeah. Like it's like worst things in the world. Oh, your dad's so proud of you. He wants to tell everyone in there under the sun that what you do for a living, which is really cool. But it's also very humiliating when he had no tact. It was just like we'd sit at a restaurant. He's like, as soon as we sit down, to be like, do you realize you're serving a celebrity? And I'm like, what are you doing to me, Dad? No, I'm not. And no, that person isn't. And like, luckily, anyone who's ever like, they could see the look of pure just embarrassment on my face, unless they think that we have like a scam going together where I pretend to be embarrassed, but we're hoping for a freebie, But it was always just so bad. Like, it's like, Dad, I know you're proud, but you don't need to let everybody know. And can you find a more tactful way if you do? I don't know what that tactful way is, but this is not. Don't you know who he is not the way to go.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It didn't matter where we would go, BJ. I mean, you might have heard my son on the radio. No, they probably haven't, Dad.
Yeah. I've had friends do that, and I'd be like, look, we can't be friends anymore if this is what's going to happen.
Oh, wow.
Well, I can't be like, I can't be your son anymore.
I'd have to say that. I think I go, look, I'm sorry, Dad. If you want to go anywhere with me, you're gonna have to put the kibosh on this. Okay, you have to stop this bad boy because it's a beating, especially when they don't know who you are, because, it's not like everybody listens to our show. I know a lot of people do. And so when that one person goes, I have no idea who you are, then it's bad for both of you. You're like, then you got to try to explain it because then,
it sucks.
And the person goes, what are you talking? And then the person gets mad at them for not knowing. And it's like, dude, they're going to urinate all over our food. Can we not do this?
Every time. No one knew. I mean, I think he had one good string where like he did it on the phone with somebody on like a cell phone provider, and he actually got like a discount because the person was based in Seattle and knew. Of course, like, you're in Seattle, huh? My son. And I'm like, he tells me this story, and then they gave him like some kind of like a discounted deal on something. And so ever since then, he just thinks like, that is like, it was cool because he was like super pumped. And that was like the moment where my dad was first like extremely proud of what I did because I got him a discount, even though I wasn't there. And I was like, man, so I think that's been his goal ever since, is to continue he's on this like chasing the dragon of the discount. And I'm like, Dad, stop this. It's embarrassing. Like, I'll pay. If it means that you don't want to pay or you want to what's the discount you're hoping for? I'll give it to you. And don't say anything in front of this person.
And I did it to myself one time. I was with my friends back at home. I grew up with these guys, and we were having some beverages. And usually when I don't have beverages, I know not to be that guy. But I decided to pull a don't you know who I am moment with my friends by basically bragging about a guest we had on the show, because I thought they would all know who this guest was. And I'm like, well, guys, look, I got to tell you, I had a pretty big thrill this week, and I had this person on the show. And the whole table goes, we have no idea who that is. And I'm like, oh. All right, then. Well, all of a sudden, I'm the idiot.
Well, all right, then.
Yeah, and your friends, of course, they just go, are you trying to be a big deal right now? Remember, we grew up with you. You were always an idiot. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
It seemed a lot cooler in my head.
I know. It really did. It was just like, you just never win with the, I'm kind of a big deal. It just doesn't, it just never wins. Oh, well, sorry about all you people that maybe had to go through that. Hey, you want a discount? Okay, sure, you can get a discount. Or would you like to see if you've got a treasure in your own home? Because you're going to want to look through some of your old VHS tapes. Turns out some of those old VHSs might be worth tens of thousands of dollars. I'll tell you all about this at 8:17 on The Rock.
And if you don't know what a VHS tape is, we'll tell you that too.
Oh, jeez.
BJ and Migs, mornings on The Rock, 99.9 KISW.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
For tank and tankless hot water heaters, for clogged drains, for leaky faucets, for toilets that won't flush. Stop freaking and call Beacon. Beacon Plumbing, Heating, and Mechanical is your trusted source to solve all your plumbing needs. 1-800-FREAKIN or beaconplumbing.net.
Take the next step toward the career you want, be it business, cybersecurity, healthcare, or more. UMGC can help you get there. No application fee when you apply by August 31st. Visit umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
99.9 KISW, The Rock of Seattle. Pretty disappointed in myself this morning.
Why?
Well,
you feel bad for telling me to go get a shake at In-N-Out?
No, that's not it. You still liked it. You
yes,
just didn't think it was the greatest thing ever.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. I'm mad because this story is just another example of why, man, my younger self is probably going to be really mad at my older self. A first print VHS copy, that of course is what used to be a videotape you put in the VHS players. You kids that didn't ever have to, the pre-DVD kids.
Oh, we do have to explain it.
Yeah.
Some people might even have lived a life without even using a DVD player now.
Yeah,
think about that.
I know, but
That's
at least
weird.
DVDs look a lot like Blu-rays to some degree. They're round and plastic, and they go.
No, but I'm thinking like that. We have a younger generation that's only probably streamed or had downloaded content that they watched
in the cloud.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, man. Well, these were big black rectangular boxes that had tape in them. Yeah. And back in 1984, of course, if you liked a movie, you could buy it on VHS tape. And Terminator, of course, the Terminator was a really popular movie. If you have the tape today, and again, it's the Terminator tape itself, the movie on VHS. Well, it just sold for $32,500 at a Comic Connect online
That's
auction.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Because there's a very good chance that somebody could have picked this same movie up at like a bargain bin at like Goodwill for like $3.99 and not realize. You might have not even realized that you had a little gold mine on your hands.
Now, this tape was in almost perfect condition. It received a 9 out of 10 for its preservation and a 7 out of 10 for the tape's corners and edges. So I don't know if a bargain basement version, but still, if you can get $32,500 for it in perfect condition, you got to be able to get half that for it in any reasonable condition.
It depends on who's buying it. I mean, at all these crazy amounts, it's all in. You need that one purchaser. It doesn't mean that another one that someone else is going to step up and drop that kind of coin.
An executive at Comic Connect said the tape sold in 3 days, adding that there's been an increase in VHS purchases over the past few years.
Was someone going to use that?
I'm sure they are. It's the same way that
I wouldn't use it. I think you want to have it in pristine shape.
Hey, we're watching Terminator again. Dad, we've watched it 6 times today. I don't care. I spent $32,000. I'm getting my money's worth.
I got to use this rewind machine that I bought back in 1992.
Oh, yeah, the automatic rewinder.
Be kind, rewind.
Those.
You jerks.
I still have a couple of those myself.
Why do you still have them?
Yeah.
Because you never know when you need them.
When are you going to need them? When's the last time you used them?
Look, I mean,
1994.
How about I save the rewind machine and I don't save my Terminator tape? You're right, I'm an idiot.
You don't need them. You never use them.
I got maybe it was last year or the year before, a friend of mine got me a VCR and the 3 original copies of Star Wars. So the first 3 movies that didn't have the alters or anything in them.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. I don't have a TV that can actually plug in a VCR anymore. All of my televisions don't have those connectors anymore. So it's just in the box. So maybe in a couple of years I can sell those for a little bit of change.
You probably have like an adapter, right?
Yeah, you go to a Radio Shack to,
yeah, we're a Radio Shack, sir.
Yeah, you're just going to have to go to Amazon and buy one of those things.
Maybe someday.
You're right. I don't know any brick and mortar Radio Shack like stores because the Fry's down at the Landing in Renton closed, and I remember they were the first thing that was at the Landing in Renton. They were the only thing there, and of course the Landing in Renton has turned into a huge place with all sorts of cool stuff. Went to the Rock. I think Saleha. Shout out to Saleha, our waitress, server. Hope I got your name right, Saleha. I don't know where to go to get those kind of cords.
Amazon found it for $6.
Yeah, I found one for $12. So there are actually RCA to HDMI's.
Prime it, baby.
Actually, I'm lying. I know exactly where to get those cords. It's in the box where I have my VCR rewinders. I have a box of cords, dude. I saved every cord I ever had going, I'll need these some days. And it's amazing. I've never used them. And I have this giant box of cords.
Dude, we have like a basket of cords. And I remember something was, I needed, I couldn't find a cord for a certain like electronic thing. And I'm like, let me go through the basket. And I've tried, and it's like, I have everything that nearly fit it except for that cord. And I was like, what? And then as I'm going through, I'm like, what is this cord even used for? And instead of throwing it away, what do? Put it back in the basket.
Yeah, of course.
Just in case if I need it someday in the future.
I'm hoping someday those cords are worth some money.
Cords?
Yeah. Maybe somebody will go, you know what? No one ever thought of collecting cords. We are going to be rich.
You know what's crazy to think? Like, we're talking about this, where this old VHS tape was worth all this money because it was in almost mint condition. That will never be a thing again, like nowadays. Like when you think about, like, no one's ever gonna be like the new. I'm trying to think of a new movie, like the last Spider-Man movie. You won't have like a VHS, or I guess you have a DVD. Maybe might be worth something, but
yeah, maybe.
Otherwise, it's just gonna be like, hey, I have this streaming, and it's still in good condition because it's streaming and it doesn't change condition ever.
I feel like the only thing that would maybe work is when they come out with like the big Marvel box sets, like every single Marvel, like maybe 40 years, 50 years down the line. It's like, I have all the movies in a DVD. What's a DVD? I think that's about it.
And I'm wondering if, I'm crazy for not buying Blu-rays now because maybe nobody will buy them and they will be really rare. Because they're still doing it. If you go to Target, you still see they sell Blu-rays of everything, even though a lot of us are just watching everything online.
But then you're like, you're hoping that something like that, it's almost like becoming like a Beanie Baby situation where you're like, I'm buying these things with hopes that they're going to be worth something, but there's a good chance you're just creating clutter in your home for something that will be worth not a single cent.
Totally. This is what happens when you know you own something and got rid of it, Steve, and then you become obsessive, and this is a vicious cycle I'm going to be in.
But do you think like VHS tapes are trying to like make a comeback, like cassette tapes?
Cassettes have actually come back a little bit.
Yeah, because like bands are doing those, and like on top of the vinyl, they'll be like, here's 100 cassette tapes that we're going to do, and they're super limited. So they might do the same thing with VHS eventually, and it's like, why?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the appeal of that. What is the appeal of the cassette tape?
I think it's just a hipster thing.
Yeah,
they're like, hey, check it out. You got cassettes. And maybe they're just banking on people maybe still having a cassette deck in their old car that they haven't replaced.
Okay, because I understand albums coming back because people believe the sound is better.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just a cheap thing to put together and put out there. And it gets people talking.
Okay, yeah.
That's my only guess.
I mean, because VHS tapes are crap. I mean, compared to being able to watch something in 4K.
I remember having Stone Temple Pilots' second album, that Purple album. I remember wearing it out because I played it so much that it actually went slower.
Yep.
And the music was going slower. And I was like, this doesn't sound right. And then I got a new tape because I had to buy a new tape. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, yeah, it was amazing.
Dude, it's like I recently re-listened to The Primus' Sailing the Seas of Cheese, which is such a great record. But I remember when I was a kid, I had it on cassette, and I listened to that thing all the time to the point where there would be certain parts that were warped or had little glitches. So it was weird because like your brain brings you back to the time when you last listened to it. And I would remember certain spots that I'm like, oh, here comes a little glitch. But then when I'm listening to it on Apple Music, it's like, the glitch is gone.
Right? The glitch is gone.
It's like, oh yeah, dummy, because you're not listening to the same old cassette that you used to listen to and you're too cheap to buy a new one.
Yeah, man. That's when you know you're old, because there are people that go, I don't even know what that's like.
Yes.
Well, you remember when your MP3 got corrupted and it came out all garbled? It's kind of like that.
Okay. I think I can somebody. Wait, what's an MP3?
Yeah. Oh, shut up.
Sorry.
Dude, I know you're talking about Marvel. Vicky mentioned it's DC, but it got me thinking for a second because I guess what I watched over the weekend last night.
Oh, did you finally make some peace?
Yes, I made some peace, baby.
Whoa. Oh, yeah. How far'd you get?
2 episodes in.
That's not bad.
That's solid, actually, yeah.
Here's the highlight with the wifeski.
What?
And you actually made it to 2 episodes?
This was the greatest bargaining tool. It was, babe, I know I watch a lot of Kraken games. I'm willing to put the Kraken game on the phone and watch it periodically. But we could watch something on a show, and then we had no shows. I'm like, I know you didn't want to give Peacemaker a try, but it's either Peacemaker or the Kraken. What do you want to do? She's like, oh, we'll try Peacemaker.
Wow. Okay, so what was her reaction to Peacemaker? Because it's ultra violent, ultra bad languagey.
I thought for sure, I was like, this is not going to last long because they use the F word very frequently.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so good that after the first episode, I'm like, do you want to throw in the towel or not? She's like, if it doesn't get any worse than what we just experienced, she's like, I'm in. Because I think she enjoyed the story. Because there's some funny moments. And there's it's a really well done show. Oh my gosh, dude! I hope I get to continue. I'm watching it regardless if she wants to or not. It just depends on when.
Yeah.
I mean, not making her force her to watch it when she's not around because it's so damn good. But she really enjoyed it. I was obsessed with it. I think John Cena's incredible in this. You guys are all right.
He only gets better too.
That's what I was going to say. Better. The beginning is fantastic, and it does not get worse at any point. It just continuously gets better and better and better, and I cannot wait for season 2.
The intro dance scene, I just want to dance with them.
I've never skipped it.
No.
The cool thing about the intro is if you really watch it, there are people in that you don't know yet, Steve.
Yeah.
There are people in that intro you go, I don't know who that person is, but they are important characters. All those folks that are in that intro are important characters to the show, which I think is fascinating that they gave us all those characters. And I'm like, because there were actors, I'm like, I know who that guy is. I wonder what the heck he's going to... Okay, and he hadn't shown up, and then I forgot he was even in the intro, and then there he was.
And just being a lifelong wrestling fan and a big John Cena fan and just loving his game, he's like the ultimate hero for children when it comes to wrestling. To have him be this character and say the things that he says is such a trip because you just always knew him as just being for the most part, some parts where he's not just PG in wrestling, but he's more PG-13. Sometimes he said some stuff, but some of the stuff he's saying in this show, I would never have expected John Cena to say. And so it's awesome.
This is, to me, great art because a show like this has levels. And you can enjoy it on any level you want. But as you watch this and you watch John Cena's journey, I have to tell you, man, this is a brilliant move to get people to see the other side of somebody who they would go, you are a horrible person. There's no reason for me to ever give you a break or have any empathy towards you. And this show really goes to show you, oh, really? Well, you need to give it another thought and that's why Cena's so good because his whole backstory as you get into it and you learn about, you could be like, this guy's a piece of crap. Everybody, and especially when we saw him in Suicide Squad, the character you thought was just a piece of crap, but laughable. Mm-hmm. They make him you guys so empathetic for John Cena in this and the character. That's brilliant art. And you may never even get what I'm talking about, but there's levels of this show that I think are amazing. And whether you like it just for what the surface level is, or if you really go deeper as to the message they're sending, It's really well done, and no one would ever think of it. It's just like, this is supposed to be just a stupid superhero show, and DC does it again. They really put together some good TV superhero shows that are really good works of art. I am so
ever since Wonder Woman 1984, they've been just knocking it out of the park, BJ. Right?
And it's not a TV show.
I know, but it's we
saw it on TV.
Yeah,
I did.
Me too.
I would say
show,
Titans,
and it was on TV. It's a TV show.
Titans, Doom Patrol, and now Peacemaker, all these HBO Max shows, and also, for that matter, Harley Quinn, the animated series, is also really well done in that respect. They're knocking it out of the park with their TV shows. They're beating Marvel at that game, in my opinion, though Marvel is trying to step it up with the Disney stuff. But before, all they had was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and boy, DC was kicking Marvel's ass.
Plus, had a John Cena sex scene, and I was like, what the hell am I watching? Dude, it was so awkward.
I know, that was very awkward. Well,
I think what sold my wife on it at first was also there's just the bald eagle.
Eagly, the world's greatest mascot.
It brought comedy at the exact right time.
Yeah, everybody in the show, man. I'm telling you, all the characters, they're really awesome, and you really grow to love all the characters. They do a good job with that show. They do. It's called Peacemaker, and it's on HBO Max. You don't have to have watched the second Suicide Squad to really to really get it. They kind of give you a little bit of an update of what you missed anyway, but if you want to, it's not bad, because the second Suicide Squad is funny too.
Yeah, they recap it really well. Like, they kind of set it all up so that way once you start the show, even if you've never seen Suicide Squad, which we never finished, you don't feel like you're lost.
Exactly. Again, HBO Max, and if you don't have it, sorry. Sorry about that. Just another pay network you got to go get. Not a problem, right?
Just go get it.
So is Peacemaker kind of like The Boys, or is it trying to be serious?
No, it's like The Boys, where it's got a lot of humor. I would say that, Rev. Wouldn't you say that there's a good...
Yeah, but it's James Gunn, so it goes a little bit deeper than The Boys really does.
Yeah, I would say that. That's a good call.
Agreed.
And yet it's still, but I think it's as enjoyable as The Boys.
Yeah.
You will, if you like The Boys, I think you'll love Peacemaker, because I think it's even funnier.
Oh yeah,
in its own way. Yeah. So yeah, you'll dig that. If you like The Boys, you'll dig Peacemaker. You should. If you don't, then blame Steve, because he's
sweet cheeks.
Plus, Steve likes it. I mean, if Steve likes what we like, sweet cheeks or champ, whatever we want to call you. All right. Yesterday, Sweet Cheeks here did get this one right.
Jeez. Which singer popularized the song "It's Not Unusual"?
It's not unusual to be Tom Jones.
Yes,
and his bulge.
Okay. And now my bulge will take the rest of the song.
Yes.
You want a shot at beating Steve? You got it. 206-421-ROCK. We're playing Beat Migs. We'll do that at 8:47 on The Rock.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Travis Gagne, bankruptcy attorney. Here's another question from a listener. How long is a bankruptcy going to affect my credit rating?
Of course, most of the time, by the time we're talking about filing a bankruptcy, the credit has already taken a huge hit. Chapter 7 is going to affect it more negatively than Chapter 13. Chapter 7 stays on your credit report for 10 years from the time you file. It usually takes 7 or 8 years for your credit scores to get back into the normal range in a Chapter 7 case. However, your credit will start to recover even in Chapter 7 after about a year. You'll be able to get credit again right away, usually before your case is even over. Chapter 13 stays on your credit report for 7 years and usually takes about 3.5 years for your credit to get back in the normal range. So Chapter 13 will mean your credit gets better much more rapidly.
Thanks, Travis. If you have more questions about bankruptcy, you can reach out to Travis anytime at ChooseTheRightChapter.com. That's ChooseTheRightChapter.com. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at WeConsiderWA.org.